Well, hello everyone. Here we are in Module 3 of our Introduction to Healthcare Finance, Summer of 25. Okay, got some things to kind of go over here. Let's minimize my picture and let's go right into the modules. Just remove that altogether. Now, as far as I am shooting this on Wednesday morning, so all the grading is caught up. For a few of you that may not have had your grades posted, when you looked earlier this week, all of that has been caught up. So all of your grades should be there for Module 2 and, of course, for Module 1. Great job on these threaded discussions. You guys are doing very well with the threaded discussions. If you are getting some points off, just make sure you're hitting all of those things that are asked for. So, for example, in Module 2, there were 3 essential elements that you had to hit that were asked for in the threaded discussion. I simply looked, I go in there, I look, I go boom, boom, boom. Are all 3 hit? I make a comment on each one of those. You'll see that in your feedback. And if you hit on all 3 of those points, then usually you end up getting all of the points for that assignment. Unless the other way you get points off is if you don't do the 2 peer responses. So just make sure you're doing what's outlined in the threaded discussion and the peer responses, and you guys should capture all 20 points for that assignment. All right, so that's looking good. Also, another issue that we had, see, there's always something for every class. So there is a bad question. So thanks to Stacy, and I know there was another student that had texted me. So in quiz, or Chapter 8 quiz, we had a bad question 7. So if you missed it or couldn't get it right after the reattempts, you're going to get points for that one. So that one, my fault, totally had that keyed in incorrectly. So my error. If you do run across, because some of these quizzes are brand new and I do make mistakes, so, and you're the first time seeing the quiz, that if you do see something that doesn't make sense, please let me know. Like if it looks like this is the answer in the book and it's keyed in incorrectly, I do go through there, I match up the key, with the questions, but obviously I can make a mistake. So again, thank you for pointing that out, and we got that part. Hopefully that'll be fixed for the next class. All right, so Module 3, this is pretty much your normal module, except we do not have the threaded discussion assignment. We're going to have a progress journal. So make sure that you're just hitting those points in the progress journal. These can be this is a little bit more easier points, kind of as long or as short as you want, but there's usually some prompting questions I have in there. Make sure that you kind of address those. It's a great way to touch base in the course now that we're kind of midpoint, just to see what we kind of need to do, what I need to do, how you guys are feeling. So it's a great way for us to connect. I really do like those progress journals for that. So there you go. There's your progress journal assignment, and of course all of our normal quizzes. The next thing I want to do is I want to talk about Module 4, because Module 4 is usually that, with our first midterm, is the one that causes the most, I guess, issues. So, and those all centered around the midterm exam. So the midterm is going to be proctored, and some of you, I'm sure, have already experienced ProctorU in one of your classes at some point or another. For those of you that haven't, ProctorU is a service that the college uses. Many colleges use ProctorU. There are other ones out there. But basically what it is that you're scheduling the exam in a window. I'll talk about that window. We have a pretty large window here. So you can schedule the exam at your convenience, and you are monitored while you're taking the exam. Sometimes you're monitored by AI, sometimes by a human. Sometimes it's monitored and then flagged for human review later, and sometimes it's flagged for my human review. And I have seen some unusual things that have been flagged for human review. They usually center around pets. like a cat crossing across the screen will trigger a review. So what is it looking for? It's really, it's really to protect exam integrity. You're using a lockdown browser. You cannot have a phone or any devices around you. So, there's no assistance, no notes. It's just what's in your head and the exam. So, you do want to study for that. Now, I provide a midterm summary review that I think is pretty good. Students have told me it usually does pretty well. It's not inclusive of everything, but it probably covers most of what's on the exam. So that will be provided as well. So the issues with ProctorU usually come to about a technical issue. That's for some reason your computer didn't work. It wasn't able to sync. It wasn't able to, to go through the process. Those are usually centered around Chromebooks. So if you have a Chromebook, and you're trying to go through college with a Chromebook, I highly recommend against that. They're great for casual stuff, but just for what you really need, I think, it's nice to have a full service, laptop. So, but if you do only have a Chromebook, reach out to me. So email me or text me if that is your situation. Occasionally I run across students who are trying to do everything on an iPad. That will not work. It's just impossible. You can do some things, but you can't do the entire course, online courses at the college with just an iPad. So reach out to me if that's an issue, and we can talk about some sort of alternate arrangement. But for the most of you, you're probably fine. And I'm assuming for the 20 of you, everybody has a functioning laptop, and that'll work just fine. I highly recommend, strongly encourage, without reservations, that you go through these prep steps way in advance. You do not want to be sitting there Sunday night, or in this case, Wednesday of the following week. We're talking about the window here. Right before the exam closes, and then you got a technical issue. You're freaking out about that, and you've got the test to take as well. So in here, you've got the ProctorU student instructions. Go through those. There's also a live review guide. Basically, it's the same thing as the student instructions, but you may even want to print that live review guide out. It's a PDF, because it also has the helpline on there should something unusual happen during the exam. You have a helpline. Now, I've heard various reports on how successful the helpline has been. Sometimes it's been very helpful. Sometimes it's been, probably a little bit lacking. And that's where we've had some, when students do have issues and then they can't get them resolved, and, then it becomes a very frustrating situation. Please document anything if you are. Again, I don't anticipate with this group, with the 20 of you, that we're going to have any issues. But if you do, please document. Like, okay, yes, I called and they couldn't resolve. They do send me a summary of the help ticket of, what they tried to do. But, again, have your own documentation handy, or records of what you've done. Again, I'm not anticipating that's an issue, but I'm just letting you guys know historically, this is what it's centered around. A technical issue, either getting the exam to start or during the exam, that was unable to be resolved. This can be almost eliminated by just doing prep work ahead of time. Going through the student instructions, testing your computer ahead. It guides you. Our distance ed department's done a great job in that student instruction section here, kind of guiding you through everything that you need to do. So getting your Guardian browser and all of this stuff. So go through that carefully, and everything should be fine. Again, that's really going to reduce the possibility of you having an issue. And then I would download the 5 steps review guide, just so you have it handy. Review it, but it's pretty much covered in that student preparation links that I just showed you before. Okay, but it does have the nice handy dandy on the bottom here, support chat, ticket support, and the phone number. So They also have my phone number. Again, that can be kind of difficult because you guys are taking exams 24/7 when I'm going to be available. But if I'm available and they can get a hold of me, then we can perhaps work something out over the phone. Usually, though, it's not an instructor issue. This is some sort of technical issue, usually residing on the student's computer. For the most part, if everything is run fine and you've done everything in the kind of the prep leading up for this, not any issues. Okay, so I think I beat that to death, but please go through these well in advance. Let's talk a little bit more about the content and the window. So the midterm summary review is going to cover all of the chapters that will be on there. Remember, you're not going to have any access to notes like you have with the quizzes. By the way, the quizzes are a great resource, and potentially, some of those questions are going to show up on the midterm. So, yeah, I would definitely review those quizzes because you're probably going to see either verbatim questions or very similar to the questions that you had on all of your quizzes. But in addition to that, you'll have a midterm summary review doc that you can go through. I would definitely kind of study up on this, broken down by chapter, key points. If you want, you could even dump this into AI and turn it into flashcards. It would be that would be one way to kind of study for it. So there's that. The window. So the window for the exam is going to open, looking at my calendar here, it should open on the 21st, early in the morning on Monday, on this module 4, okay, which I doubt if any of you want to take it on that Monday when the module just opens, but it will be open on the 21st, and we're having that run until Wednesday, the 30th. So there's more than a week to schedule this exam. Wednesday the 30th, and I believe the cutoff is Wednesday the 30th, 11 p.m. that you can schedule your last test. Now, it'll have a scheduler in there when you go into ProctorU, but you can, either wait until that following week to take it, but this should give us plenty of time for you guys, even if we do run into a technical difficulty with one of you, to reschedule and take that midterm exam. All right, so that's kind of a look ahead on Module 4. So please go ahead and think about playing around with that, especially if you have not had ProctorU before. The good news is, after you go through all this, and if you've never done it before, ProctorU, that is our official sanctioned proctoring software here at the college. So you're going to get hit with it somewhere, in some class, online. You're probably going to get hit with this multiple times in your career here at the college. So it's not necessarily a wasted skill set, and it's there. These things are probably not going away, because in the world of AI, which we need to verify that you actually know the stuff that you've been testing on and quizzing and reading and watching videos and doing chats about. So now the level of the difficulty of the midterm will be very similar to those quizzes. So I think I've given enough hints on that. So it'd be very similar to that difficulty. Not overly difficult. It should be, the grades on the midterm, we have done some tweaking to some of these quizzes, because we do have some new quizzes from the previous run. But historically, the midterm students have done well. The vast majority have done A's, B's, and maybe an occasional C here or there. But if you put forth some good faith effort, study the notes, study your previous quizzes, you guys should be absolutely fine. All right, that pretty much covers it for this week. Sorry this one ran a little long, but I really want to get the hammer home on that ProctorU thing, just so it reduces the stress that we have later on in not this module, but in Module 4. All right, everybody have a fantastic week, and I'll check in with you next week. Thanks.